Right, good evening. Welcome to a evening live. And this evening we're talking about how to get the best driver for you. It's such a common question I get asked these days with so many drivers on the market. I mean, you've got so many to choose from. Companies have more than one model. Everyone's saying they're the longest and the straightest and the bestest. And, oh, there's two nice ones there, isn't there? Hey, Bra. Hello, Stephen, in the chat. So, yeah, let's give you some ideas of what you need to be asking, say, fitters or working with fitters with when it comes to getting your next driver. We've got the chat up in front of us as well. Just ordered TS3 driver and fairway. Callum, good boy. Hey, Bra. Stephen Garner. Welcome. If you're in the chat, if you don't subscribe already, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to see more lives. And also, if you want to see more lives, hit the thumbs up button as well. If you're watching on catch up, maybe consider subscribing. I've got loads of free videos go up daily that might give you some help with buying guides and tips and fun course vlogs, those kind of things. Looking forward to a fun night in the chat with this as well. Hello from Ontario, Canada. Hello. Just stopped in to say hi, Mark. GBeebs1, hello. Hey, David. Everyone's pouring in. Welcome. Right. So many drivers to pick from. How do you know where to start? So, obviously, first questions people will ask me often is, should I go new or used? That is a very good question. If you're thinking about getting your new driver, obviously, benefits of getting a used driver would be that you're going to get a reduced price as a general rule. The downfalls are with a used driver is you're going to be buying into older tech, which we'll come into more in this evening to see what that means to you or not. And also you're not going to be possibly, depending on where you're buying it, be able to get that as fit as well. So custom fit for you. You're going to be buying someone else's driver. And obviously you could use similar specs. I can hit Coach's driver, even though it's not perfect for me, and I can hit Dan's one, so it gets me playing. But subject to how much you're saving, you need to be careful to see if that really actually is a saving that will help you. But there's certainly benefits in the used market. If you think about modern drivers these days, changeable necks, changeable loft sleeves, there's probably a chance that you can get it dialed in to a certain extent, or swap a shaft out and pay a bit more, those kind of things. Now, if you're going to get used, which is obviously gives you all the options to spend your money on, like I say, the many different variations that you see out there, what I would advise doing is don't go testing everything. When I used to do a lot of custom fitting and I had someone who wanted I want a driver, brilliant, what ones you got in mind? Oh, I just want to test them all, they would say. I think, oh, well, I can get most of these drivers, if not all of them, going the distance I need them to go if custom fit correctly. And that's across brands, not within models within brands. That's a different story, which we'll come to as we get going. But you want to narrow it down to 2 or 3 brands, in my opinion. If you think about Titleist, they've got 4 heads, which you're going to narrow it down probably to 2 of them. Taylormade, 2 heads, you're going to narrow it down to 1 or 2 of them. Callaway, quite a few heads, not sure how many they got at the moment, but probably 4 or 5 with older models, but are still current. And you're going to narrow it down to X amount. If you're going to try all of them, you're just not going to go anywhere and you're going to get confused fast. So narrow it down to a few brands that you either like the look of, you like the feel of, you like the brand, you want to replicate what other players do and they use this brand even if it isn't that driver. So definitely narrowing it down before you go, I think, will just help you not get so crazily confused. Now, if the fitter throws a curveball in there and says, look, you've hit the ones you wanted, that's great, should we just try this one because your delivery, I get these results with this club, then go for it, give it a go, but go on their lead more than thinking you need to just try every club out there. People do get lost in that one. Distance and dispersion, David is saying in the chat. Mr. Landlord, the best golf channel ever. Thank you, Mr. Landlord. Custom fit Ping G400 for me being mega. Phil. Team Titleist from Callum, good boy. Twist Face, help me. My miss Austin is saying, I don't know why that one's not showing. I'll show it for you, Austin. Twist Face, help me. My missus toe hit and the ball goes too far left. With Twist Face toe strikes, don't go as far left. And I hit more fairways. That's brilliant news. Low sound. You want a bit more sound? Let's just turn the sound up. Hopefully that sound is a little louder for you. Hopefully that's better. Can't hear you, Mark. Can you hear me now a bit more, Alex and William? Hopefully you can hear me a bit more now. Let me monitor my sound. Self-promoted lives, always hard. Nice to have a producer, wouldn't it? You must be able to hear me now, people. What about Orca drivers? And that's another thing. There's loads of drivers out there. You can go into other price brackets. You don't always have to go up there into those, like the main manufacturers. You might find what you're looking for in the other brands, but then what you do lack is you lack all the fitting options and the support generally when you go with those. So once you've narrowed it down to your kind of brand, a couple of brands that you want to try, you're then going to be confronted with hitting some shots, testing them, and launch data. So loft delivered, angle of attacks, face the path, launch angles, spin rates are going to start to be thrown at you. And even if you understand the numbers or don't, this is where, in my opinion, a real good fitter, this is where a good fitter really earns their money. And this is where a good fitter can really show gains or not in maximizing what you put in to what comes out of the club. So again, you don't have to understand these numbers, but often in history going past, most people who have come into fittings, when I used to do lots of fittings and ones I've seen who have made big gains, they've made gains because the club they've got doesn't fit them. So I always, when I used to do fittings and people used to come in, when there was two brands that they would come in with, if they came in with those fitted, I would tell them before the fitting started, probably won't beat that. The only time I would is if they've changed their swings. If they've changed their delivery, they've changed the way they swing the club, then that club might not fit them anymore. They're willing to buy a new one rather than dial that one back in. You know, they're just keen to buy a new club. So you say to them, look, you know, we could dial this one back in for you. No, I want a new one. I want a fresh look. That's where you make your gains. It's in the launch data, which is where generally I would see people making their absolute biggest gains. That would come from improving strike areas, from different feels, from different heads, different looks, different shaft weights, different shaft flex feels. It would come also from talking to people about their delivery. Look, you're delivering it in X, Y, or Z way. That could be so much better. So we try mixing that with this head. The launch data element, that part is really the fitting for me. For lots of people, they think it's about trying every head they can get their hands on. Generally, if I take it as a lesson, in not many drives, 10 drives or so, I can easily see what kind of drivers this person might get the benefits from. And then it's now down to their personal feels and kind of what they bring to the table. And they want it to look this way. They don't want that color. They don't like that brand. I've had one of those, never worked for me. Those kind of conversations, which are so much more feel based than they are actually, you know, really factual, built around the launch data. Launch data is where the real changes will be made. I'm going to St Andrews tomorrow, hopefully do some work with Liam again, the Titleist fitter on the range. And when we do change, when he changes players, it's generally the launch data that's being manipulated by different lofts, different deliveries, built around different lofts, like playing a links course to Wentworth where they played today. That's where they're making the changes. Right, let's see what the chat's saying. Semi off topic, but do you use the same shafting fairway as your fitted driver? No, Kurt, I don't. My fitter explained it's all simple for me. Loft angle for my swing speed and stiffer shaft, keep it going straighter. Cool, as long as you're getting fitted, that's good. Or off topic, SM8 release, Oliver Estate Agent. Mark, well, your office looks well lived in though. Yeah, I know it does need a little bit of a tidy. I'm going tomorrow and I've been packing today. Just came back from St Andrews, great place, Pablo. Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to get up there tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. So next thing, once you've got your launch characteristics starting to dial in, you're going to move, you're going to get, you know, movable head weights, which allow your fitter to really dial in what kind of head you want. There'll be different head shapes, so sizes for low spin, high spin, those kind of things. Once they've started to really establish what you're bringing to the table, they might even start to mix into the conversation these bad boys. the shaft. Now, when it comes to shaft, it's very tricky, again, not to go down the rabbit hole for some people. Mark, should fitters think about offering a different length of shaft? James on the chat. Yes, absolutely. When it comes to testing shafts, testing lengths, testing flexes and how you react to them, if it changes strike, if it changes deliveries for you, and then also weights, changing shaft weights, how does that affect you in the span of playing 36 or 18 holes in a day with that club? What does it do to your club head speed? Does it increase it? Does it decrease it when they give you heavier or lighter shafts? Because I've seen both. I've seen people swing heavier shafts faster, and I've seen people swing lighter shafts, which is the general rule, a little bit faster. So when it comes to the shaft, the main thing is how you respond to it. That's going to be the biggest key. Try your hardest not to go too far down the rabbit hole. So if you think about me saying don't go in trying every head, I mean, if you tried to try every shaft, you've seen racks and racks and walls of shafts. Think of the combinations with heads to shafts now. I mean, you'd have to be trying for about a year to try them all. And by then, it'll be the winter and you'd have missed the whole golf season. So go with the fitter's leads and go with your feels. It's how it feels to you. And a good fitter will keep saying, how does that feel? Give you a shaft. How does that feel? And if it changes the launch data to help you back to that launch data, it all comes back to that. If your shaft change is helping you delivering less spin through less dynamic loss or better impacts on the face, those kind of things, then if that shaft feels all right in your hand, doesn't feel too heavy, feels good, you're able to middle it more with that shaft, then there's no rabbit hole to go down. You just go with those feels. I put this question out on Twitter as well earlier. Let me bring up my tweets. So we've got a couple of tweets that people asked. I said to them, what questions would they ask? So Mark was saying if he was buying a new driver, he would want to know, how does it improve on my current one? Sorry, I've cut it off a little bit there. It didn't quite fit in the screen, but that's what Mark said. He wants to know, how does it improve on my current one? And I thought that was an interesting response in itself, because I imagine he's saying that as in, if I buy Titleist TS2 over an older model or another brand, does it go further? That's always the key question. Does it go straighter? Does it go higher because I want it, or does it go lower because I want it to go lower? There are ways that you could justify how does it improve on my current one. What about, and don't forget, these are good ways of buying as well. If everything's the same, so you get both drivers and both launch angle data, the data that you get out of that head off the face comes out as exactly the same as the drive you've already had, but you love the look of it, you love the sound of it, you love the feel of it. Those are things that you can take to a golf course, play with more confidence, enjoy what you're gaming more. It doesn't always have to be quantified by 6 yards, 2 yards, 20 yards, 15 yards. At the same time, it equally can be. So when you go into buying your new driver, you need to think about what is the criteria you want it to improve on. So when I put this driver down, it always feels like it's going to go left. I can't tell if it's me or the driver. You could have another driver where you don't get that feel. The fitter takes the left side out, and all of a sudden it goes the same distance. It might even go 2 yards shorter, but you never go left and you hit more fairways. There's lots of ways of defining that. So that was a good question. And then the next question on Twitter, I picked my two favourites. Jamie C, I think his Twitter handle is, I would need to know the driver is the best for me regarding spin numbers, and then it's down to me to try and find the middle of the face, not twist face, winky face, just joking. It could be twist face. If that makes you hit it better, then definitely game it. I think people just like putting the twist face thing in at the minute. So yeah, for Jamie, I mean, I like the fact that he's talking about spin numbers. It's great that message is getting through. Again, you don't have to understand the spin numbers. Your fitter will help you with that. That's where they're really earning their money, because it certainly isn't in the clubs. You'll be shocked at what, you know, the margins in these clubs aren't as big as people think all the time. But the trying to get you to get the most out of your deliveries is really where a good fitter just absolutely earns their bread and butter. And that's them understanding your deliveries, your personality around your deliveries as well, how they might change, those kind of things or not. So absolutely understanding spin numbers, those kind of ideas is a great place to go. And then obviously taking it back to the middle of the face. If you go to a fitting You need to be understanding which shots you're keeping and which ones you're not in a data set. You might keep them all. You might want to know how this club performs when you toe sky it. I don't know if who cares how it performs when you toe sky it. That's a miscue and that's your bad shot. If you hit lots of them, that's a lesson, not a club fit. But you might be someone who repeatedly hits the heel. So you might move weights to try and line weights and center of gravities up with that spot a bit more. You might track that, so it might not work, but you sort of mean where you're striking it on the face, like with a lesson and a fit, has to be worked into your fit, in my opinion. The amount of fits I see where strike isn't being measured does concern me a little bit. Let's go back to the comments before. We've got a few footnotes just to finish. If there's anything I've not mentioned, maybe in the comments section down below, give me an ideas of other questions you want to know when you go for your fittings for your new clubs, drivers, irons, putters, woods, anything. We can do it on any of the subjects. If you like the lives and you want more buying advice, those kind of ideas, hit that subscribe button. There's loads more coming. And don't be afraid to hit the like button as well if you like the lives and any of the other videos. Because it just shows me which ones you want more of. So what the comments saying, too many players searching for a magic answer from a driver. Mark Bowdy, absolutely 100% agree. I had a lot of fittings that were really lessons and it was quite hard to persuade them that that's where it needed to go. Mark, what do you think about offset on a putter? What do you think Dan would say? Yeah, I've got no problem with offset on a putter. I'm not quite sure I've ever really heard it called that. Would you recommend repeating a fit-in for validation as day-to-day how I feel might change? Again, that's a bit rabbit holey, Justin, for me, and that's also a bit thinking that there's a magic answer out there. Like I said, I've not had a lesson that I don't know what club range I would want them to try very quickly. So if someone comes to me and they deliver X amount, X numbers, and they want X shot, so they're delivering, I can measure obviously how they're delivering. I know the loft and the speeds to the angle of attacks to the spin rates that I need to get them to max out very quickly. And I'll know very quickly that that's not a TS4 or a sub-zero or a low spinning ping. I'll think, right, there's no point going low spin for this person. They need MOI, they need a bit of spin with their speed, so we're going to go the other way. We're going to go TS1 and we're going to go the lightest in a G410 shaft to give them as much speed to try and get spin up or what have you, and launches and the rest of it up. So I think if you're going back to validate, you've had a really, really shocking day, or you haven't got trust in your fitter. I would not want, if you came to a fitting with me or a lesson, there would be no validation needed. We'd have it measured and clear, I think. If my strike is all over the place, then I can ruin the delivery of my driver. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If your strike is all over the place, then a driver might hone it in a little bit, but the bigger thing will be going for a lesson. Absolutely. How about tempo, Mark? Can it change and affect your fitting? Tim Williams. No, I never see swing speed change in a fitting, apart from intentional, which we're going to talk about in a footnote here, even though people think it does. It was great not being at work for one of your live chats, Tyler Love. Well, nice to have you, Tyler. Thanks for joining us. Right, a few footnotes. You are the biggest factor when it comes to your driver fittings. You got to believe that you are the biggest factor. These are going to factor in some, and they're going to factor into your kind of feelings and emotions. But that's always going to come back to you. You're going to love one, you're going to hate one. Go with your feelings. Because like I said, if you watch any of my reviews, when I get the driver fitted for me, so I don't test drivers that aren't fitted for me, I tend to get the same numbers out of all of them within reason. Next footnote. It's your budget, it's your field. Try and stick to your budgets. Go in there with an idea of what you want to spend. I used to always say first question to my people coming for fits. I'd say, look, what do you want to spend on a driver? And sometimes people are a bit coy as if I'm going to try and like upsell them or sell them. And I would say to them, look, I just need an idea. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's £10. I don't care if it's £2 million. If you tell me it's £10, I'm not going to show you that one. Or I'm not going to show you that one. What I'm going to do, right, is go for £10. I've got this third hand driver and I've got this fifth hand driver, and we'll test both of these two and see which one comes out best for you out of these two, because they're in your budget. So if you tell your fitter the budget you want to work to, then they will try and find a good fitter, will find you the best one for that price. It's so important you let your fitter know that, I always think. And that's something I had to really push for when I was fitting a lot. And then this is my biggest footnote before we finish on some comments. My biggest footnote is you need to test them in a way that you would game them on the course. And I try and make this point as clear as I can every fitting and lesson and, any club review that I do. There's definitely a little bit of an ego thing going on, and certainly with people, videos online and what have you, of how far they can smash them. I remember when I first started this, I used to get comments going, oh, I drive it 300, you're already driving it 262. This doesn't apply, this just is irrelevant to me. And I think, well, there's a few points there. It's totally not irrelevant to you, because we're talking about just basically the makeup of the club, of if the tech works or not. And then B, I carry it 262, so that's running up to like 280, isn't it? 270, 280 on a dry day, 265, 270, like that's what it's going through the air. But anyway, yeah, you got to game them. So when I play, I'll hit, a straight ball. I try and hit some harder draws. I'll hit some little playable fades. And when I'm testing drivers, I want to know how that performs in those areas, because different driver heads. So if I go something like these two driver heads with the weights in different places, they're going to give different spin models, different shapes. And I want to know when I'm in my cut, if I have the Epic with the weight in here, which helps me in my draw, can I still hit my cut? And then if I've got the Mizuno with the weights all forward, it gives me my low spinning one. So when I hit my little cut, that really helps. But does that really help me when I'm trying to hit my flatter drawing low spinning one that goes a long way? Or is the drop off too big and now my long shot is actually no longer or shorter than my little cut shot? You've got to try and play the shots that you play. I see it so often, people just go into range, onto range bays, in front of launch monitors, and they just want, how far's that one? How far's that one? How far's that one? And I see it in reviews, people just whacking it as hard as they can. It's like, oh wow, what are we doing here? Like, that is not testing a club. So definitely try and take your game into that fitting and explain to your fitter how you use that driver. Even if you hit it from the deck, there'll be some drivers that you can't hit from the deck. I mean, that's a pretty out there example, but you know what I mean. If you're going to try and hit cuts, fades, high, low ones, can you do it with the club that person's trying to fit you in? Because if you don't tell them that, they're not going to know you play those shots, and they're going to want to make sure that club fits all the shots that you're playing. Greetings from the Texas Captain's Ed. Greetings, but we're just coming to the end. So anyone who's just coming at the end, you can watch this obviously on the catch-up. And if you are watching it on the catch-up, you like the advice, post comments down below. If there's some tips that you want on other buying tips that I've missed that you want, or other questions about buying a driver that I've missed that you would like me to answer a bit more. Is it one thing I always do on the range? Imagine certain fairways and aim for that. I like that, yes. Hi Mark, are you heading to the Alfred Dunhill links this week? Yeah, I'm there Monday, Tuesday, Barry. So if you're around, give us a shout. Yes. Do you do lessons these days? Yes, got a live lesson going up tomorrow, actually. You'll see one of the Journey Students guys. Live lesson goes up tomorrow at 8:30. Number on the bottom of the club shouldn't matter, though. 12 degrees or 8 degrees. What does should matter more? What it does should matter more. Absolutely 100% agree with that in the comments. Thanks all for watching. Again, let me know down below if this helps or not. Sorry about the audio at the start, a little quiet, but hopefully you could hear me a bit if you just turn your volume up. But then remember to turn it down when I turn mine up, or I'm going to blow your heads off. Speak to you all soon. Have a good evening.